thought about why. It's more of like common sense.
Newer technology.
I think if more people had more knowledge in science, they'd be a lot better off.
Everybody needs science. Otherwise, we would have faulty medicine, no food, no homes to live on, and we'd be cave people.
Science is everything. It's basically
Like the world.
the world finding everything out.
Why is the weather changing? So everything is science, everything what we need day by day is science.
Every single thing that we wear, eat, kind of interact with has some science attached to it.
Science is the study of how things work, also why things work the way they do and how they interrelate to one another.
A refreshing but painstaking process for figuring out what is true.
If I put a lab coat on, that doesn't make me a doctor or a scientist or something. A scientist is a guy that knows stuff.
A lot of dedication, a lot of hard work, and a lot of heart inside of something that they enjoy.
I think first, you have to like, knowing more, that's what it takes. If you know more, you start being curious about something.
One of the basic things that every scientist needs to have is curiosity, right? It starts out with asking why. That ability to ask why and then take that one step further and try to figure out how to answer that why. That's what is the key trait that, to me, makes a scientist.
Scientists needs to be creative and curious, and they need to be somewhat smart. Not totally smart, but if they're not curious and they're not creative, they're not going to get very far. And it would be a person who thinks a lot about what they're doing and is able to put relationships together. Those are hallmarks of a good scientist.
Figure out theory or idea, and you figure out, okay, what do I need to research for that idea? Then you go and you collect the data, and you observe it, and then you analyze it, and then after you analyze it, you put the results in practical application.
With a scientific method, you could do an experiment multiple times and still have the same result.
The scientific method is kind of a classic formula we learn in school from early on, but I think the essence of it is to remove bias from an information gathering behavior.
How you're testing it that determines if you can analyze it.
You got acid over here, and you got bio something over here. Just mix these two together, what's going to happen?
Any question can be a question, right? So any question is a valid question, but a good scientific question is one that can be answered with the data and some kind of a process that, again, is as free as possible from human bias.
If there's a testable hypothesis there, a way at getting, maybe not at the answer, but at part of the answer, then that to me is a scientific question.
I think the theory would be the idea behind it, whereas the hypothesis is actually after you figure out the idea.
So theory is something that you think of, and a hypothesis is something that you test.
A theory is something that you think could be possible. A hypothesis is something that you can prove is possible.
It's proven it's no longer a theory.
A hypothesis is a general idea that we have, an educated guess for what may be explaining a phenomenon. This is sort of a starting point in science, and we create hypotheses and we test them. After we have tested a lot of hypotheses, we may be converging on what we would call a theory, which is an explanation, and basically increases in confidence over time if we're still using a theory. So a theory is a well-supported idea about how a phenomenon works.
So I had a flip-flop.
how can you trust something that you don't know a lot about? That's somebody else telling you it's the truth versus knowing yourself. So I mean, you got to trust that person.
So would you say then that you trust science to the extent that you trust the source it's coming from?
Yes.
If they're proving themselves, yeah.
Just the pharmaceutical scientists that make our drugs, you know, they could just add things that we don't know what they're adding, you know, and they'll say this does that, and us as consumers just buy it just because they said it.
But do you not believe that there's research behind that?
There's research. There's research into it, but I don't know. Scientists could do what they want to do and fool us.
I just feel like this big mystery, and I just keep it that way.
The media puts whatever they want out there. So.
I think media has a way of sensationalizing science to a degree that's kind of not very realistic.
I think there are many media sources out there that do. And there are also equally many probably that don't.
They only report on scientific discoveries that they think are newsworthy, and because most scientific discoveries are small and nobody wants to read about them except other science.
So what is science, and why do we need it? Science is a process of discovery, a means of exploring and explaining the world based on testable facts. A scientific question is any question that can be addressed through the means of science. So any question that you can develop a hypothesis and design an experiment to test whether or not it's true. Not all questions can currently be addressed through scientific means. The other means of understanding the world are not necessarily incompatible with science. A question that is currently outside the realm of science may be a scientific question in the future.
I'm Morgan, and I am a scientist because I love to play with dirt. I research nutrients that are found in the soil and how their cycles will actually be impacted by climate change to influence the availability of these nutrients to plant growth.
Hi, I'm Sarah, and I'm a scientist because I'm curious about how the natural world works, and I love the joy of discovery. I use DNA to figure out how populations change through time, particularly in response to human impacts and to climate change.
I'm Danaan, and I'm a scientist because I really love learning new things. My favorite things to learn about are how sort of environments form and how different organisms within the environment interact with each other and cause each other to change over time. So I study carnivore responses to environmental changes.
Hi, my name is Asa. I have two fields of science that I'm very interested in. One is cancer metabolism. So I look at melanoma and look at specific genes that cause cells to keep replicating in skin cancer. I also have a passion for psychology meets biology, which is neuroscience. So I like to study how the brain works and how that affects behavior and physiology.
My name is Sarah.
And I'm Nate.
I'm a scientist because I always want to know more.
And I'm a scientist because I like to look at deadlines.
I study the genetic diversity of jellyfishes so I can better understand jellyfish blooms.
I study small mammal fossils because I like to use information from the fossil record to help to predict how to conserve endangered animals today and other species that are potentially at risk of climate change effects.
So what is Quest? Quest explores the world through the lens of science to increase awareness and to inspire the public and researchers to engage more comprehensively. Basically, we think that if people are aware, they'll act.
Hi, I'm Sarah.
Hi, I'm Nate.
And I'm Sarah.